that. And now I will, 1 second, and I'll just introduce. Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. So I am so excited to do this interview today. I am with Tara. My name is Lisa Callahan. I am the founder of the Women's Emotional Eating Community Support Group here on Facebook. And I also run an amazing community called Crush That Food Thing Self-Discovery System, which is where I help women identify their invisible emotional relationship with food through taking a journey of self-discovery. So I asked Tara to come here today because Tara is one of our graduates from Crush That Food Thing. And I just want to share, I want her to share actually the experience that she had, because self-discovery is not something that I ever thought would help with my eating habits. Like, it wasn't something that like I had planned on in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I really started off not necessarily knowing that I had eating habits. What I thought was that I just needed dieting, and and I did that for 30 years. And when I finally figured out that there was a little bit more to me than meets the eye, and then I started to tie in my eating patterns with this self-discovery journey, I started to realize that there was invisible connections. And when I started to realize that, I thought, wow, this is really a thing. So that's why I started Crush That Food Thing Self-Discovery System. And I'm so happy to welcome Tara. Tara, tell us, where are you from? First of all, where are you at in the world?
Oh, right now I'm in Haileybury in Ontario, Canada. It's just a small little northern town. I just moved here about a year ago. So
Yay. All right. And I've never been there, actually. I've been to Canada, but I've only been to the West Coast, like so British Columbia and that area, but I've never been on the East at all. So I want to come to see you, because we have a lot of clients that actually live in Canada. So I want to come out there and see. So I just wanted to ask, when you were first searching yourself for whatever you were searching for, and you happened to kind of find us, what were you looking for at the time? Like, when you found us, what were you looking for?
I think I had just hit kind of a rock bottom in my life. And at the time, I thought I was just looking for a way to stop eating junk food and lose weight. That's all I knew. Yeah. I knew that I felt bad about myself. I was now daily just stuffing my face at night, restricting all day, and then just shoving food in at night and beating myself up about it, and then on repeat the next day. I was just in motions. So I guess I knew that I couldn't go on like that for my whole life and be happy.
Yeah, I completely empathize, because that is exactly, mine used to happen around like 3 p.m. And it was this like daily rinse and repeat. It was like, start off the morning with the oh so familiar mantra, like, today's going to be a good day. Sometimes I would, well, not sometimes, I shouldn't say that. It was really every day that I would like hop on the scale, and then the scale would let me know if that was going to be a good day or a bad day, or if I had to beat myself up double or extra. It always ended in the same way. How about for you? Was that part of your process, or you just were more like realizing that the food was kind of like the thing that anchored you on a daily basis?
Well, I think the last round, because this went on for years, like I always say my cycles were very long. So I would have a year or two where I would restrict. So I'd be really happy with myself because, my weight would go down. So around the time that I found you and this group, I was really just weighing myself all the time, just watching my weight gain, because I just hit that point where I was just eating so much and all I was doing was gaining. So I was weighing myself probably 3 or 4 times a day, just to beat myself up, I guess. Now I realize, yeah.
Right. It's like, and you don't even realize when you're doing it, like why you're doing it. And you think that you're doing it to like monitor yourself. But then when you start to really look at the big picture and you look at it as like, that was a daily, like, come on over here, or smack, like, let me just beat you up. right? So you're actually using that to specifically, subconsciously hurt yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so nice to not be weighing myself anymore. Like it is so freeing, and the batteries died in my scale, and I just left it like that because there is no need for me to know what I weigh. There really isn't.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that. So why do you think that? Like, can you expand a little bit on that? Because that's super cool. Like I also felt that way at a certain point, and I had to literally like break up with my scale. Like I had to throw it away. It was interesting. Why do you feel that way? I love that.
Why do I feel it's not necessary anymore?
Yeah.
Um, well, because my focus is different now. So I've really added in a lot more healthy things in my life. So exercise, and I'm trying a lot of healthier foods. And so I'm just trying to nurture. I'm just trying to nurture with those things and do things that are really good for myself. Um, and I think I was just comparing. So the reason why I was weighing myself is because I was listening to the media, and I was listening to, well, me scrolling on the internet about BMI and my height and weight, and just nothing was ever good enough. But I don't agree with those things now, where I lived by them before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that shares like how influential all of these outside sources are, and then how it actually gets you to not trust yourself. And so it's interesting because maybe even intuitively all along you might have felt a certain way, but because these outside influences were like brainwashing you to think that your way was wrong,
Mm-hmm.
then that hurts you, because now that got you to, take all of that supposedly good information and use it against yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
so what made you think that when you well, first of all, let me ask, how many, you said that it's been a long time, so how many years or decades has this been going on?
Um, Probably 25 years. Yeah, 25 to 30 years. I don't remember exactly when it started, but it's funny because I think I used to beat myself up younger for being too skinny and too tall and skinny. So I got made fun of, so I did the opposite. And then once I started to gain weight, then I found that to worry about. So no matter what I wasn't satisfied with it. Yeah.
Amazing. It's amazing how we can take like if the root cause of the problem is there, then, and I tell people this all the time because we have a lot of gals in our group that have actually gone through like the bariatric surgery, and lost 100 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them haven't even put back on the 100 pounds, or put back on the weight. Some have, some haven't. But we start to recognize at some part of our lives that it's not about the food, and it's not about the weight, and it's not about how we look. So for you, that's so interesting that there was like a root cause of the problem, that you took the very same thing from being made fun of for being overly skinny, and then brought that to like the extreme on the other side of the spectrum, and yet you have the same feeling about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like
Yeah.
the root cause. So what do you think that root was for you? Like what was
Um,
the
I think just being judged and wanting to live up to an ideal, like everybody's idea of perfection, I guess. And I think I had an idea in my head of what perfect would look like. And when I was too skinny, that wasn't it. And when I was too large, that wasn't it. Um, but I don't know. I don't think I saw myself truly either that whole time. I think I had blinders on the whole time too.
Yeah. And I appreciate that because I've lived that myself, and I just was like very in a very narrow thinking pattern. And in self-discovery, we learn how to get to different levels of awareness. And so when you were keeping yourself stuck in that level of awareness where there was like nothing outside of this feeling of yourself, this feeling of being judged, this feeling of being not perfect and all that stuff, no matter what it was going on, you always had to make it a certain way because you had to stay within the parameters of how you felt to begin with. And so food just became another quote unquote thing. And yeah. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that's exactly right. And even I honestly think once I got to my ideal perfection, I would change what that was so that I would never be satisfied, right? Like,
yeah,
always something else that meant that I should be perfect. Yeah.
Exactly. And through self-discovery, and I was in this shoe 1,000%. I never realized it though. I mean, really never realized it. If you had told me that I was like acting as a perfectionist or whatever, I would have been like, no, I'm totally accepting. I'm like the least judgmental person there is. Like I really honestly believe that, and 100,000%. And sometimes I would even like rub people the wrong way. And I didn't realize how I came across as being so perfect or not, letting anybody see that side of me, never wanting anybody to see me, fall apart in any way, shape, or form, except for the unfortunate people that were in my close knit world. Yeah. They saw me fall apart plenty. And that was this big, link to keeping myself, in this very like minimally stuck place. So yeah, very interesting. So when you came across our group, what do you think that you were actually looking for, like at that time? Like you would search the web, you'd done the BMIs, the whole things. Like, what do you think you were looking for at that moment?
If I'm going to be completely honest, even though I don't know if I said it in our initial call, I think I still was worried about weight. Like, I think I still, honestly, the day we first called, I knew some of the things I should say. So part of me did want some kind of a discovery and to be happy. But I think deep down, it was still about weight at that point. Yeah. Yeah. That day. Yeah.
Yeah. And I 100% agree that, most people coming into this, in fact, even just the other day on one of the coaching calls, I feel like we had one of the gals who had said something about like some of the things that she had tried in the past, like she succeeded to a certain extent. And I was like, hold on. I'm like, we have to like, actually, none of those things were a success in any way, shape, or form, because they all led you back to the same place. And I said, and if you're still hanging on to that same place, then you can't let go and actually discover new things because you're still sitting back there in the fear zone. So I think that it's 100% accurate that anybody coming into this community and this journey would be in that place. In fact, I have a lot of gals that have started the program. They're on Weight Watchers, they're on Optiva, they're on, Jenny Craig or whatever, or some of those different things. And they're like, I'm just letting you know that I'll do the self-discovery thing, Lisa. However, just so you know, I'm not giving up my sting. And I'm like, no problem, totally fine. And then, a couple months later, they'll be like, I'm not sure if this is actually working for me. The Weight Watchers, the thing, it's like, actually, I feel like my ideas are different. Do you remember we just had somebody?
I listened to that call. It was very, very interesting. And I could relate so much to that. I've done Jenny Craig. I've done Curves exercise and diet. What else did I do? The Biggest Loser diet. I mean, I don't know how many I've done and all. I tried just protein shakes for two meals as meal replacements. I think it goes along with the scale that you feel like if you give that up, you're afraid of what will happen. It's a strange security blanket because you're not actually getting the results that you say that you want, but you're still holding on to it for dear life. Yeah.
100%. And I even did the cookie diet.
I don't know what that is.
It was in GNC. And this is the interesting part, is because like GNC, which is supposed to be like this you know, I mean, health food place or whatever was selling these. It was like you got like 16 cookies this big in you, yeah. Chocolate chip cookies, big ones, and you would eat 2 of those a day and then have a sensible dinner.
Oh
That,
boy.
yeah, I did the cookie diet. Yeah. And trust me when I say I lost 8 pounds on the cookie diet until I started binging on the cookies.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you know, one just wasn't enough. So I would have 2. And I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like, you know how expensive these cookies are? They were like, you know, $26 a cookie practically. You know what I'm saying? They were like expensive. And I started binging on those cookies. And I was like, all right, this is maddening. It just is and embarrassing that I went on the cookie diet, but I did. Question. Like you said, you have tried a million things to fix this problem in the past. What prompted you to book that call though? Like knowing that you were kind of like half in, half out, you know, like
I was thinking about that. I was very foggy at that. I was really depressed and foggy at that point. So I don't know if that's why I don't remember as much. Like I was just so closed off and foggy. But I do remember at that point in my life, I was just scrolling everything to do. And so all these pop-ups would come up, and I am pretty sure that I read some testimonials, and then I started searching you online actually to watch some videos. And I thought, you know what, this sounds like it's so much like inclusive of other things and not just diets. So I think that was the initial draw, was that it wasn't yet another diet. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
funny. I
funny.
don't know much about you yet, right? So yeah.
Yeah, and I just got off the call just an hour or so before this call where we had a new gal sign up, and I asked her, I said, what you know, what prompted you to book the call? And I swear she gave the same exact answer. And she said, she goes, I looked you up and I researched you on the internet. And she said the same thing. She said it felt like it was like it, hopefully, and she's just starting, will be like all inclusive to where it's not just about like dieting. Because and the reason why even in the original and the first Crush That Food Thing program, and we do have an extended program that does add a little bit more value of food and such, but the first part of the program is not about food very much at all, because y'all have been on a million diets, like you know what to eat. It's not such rocket science, right? But now and when you save and you just like when you first started, you know, it almost makes it sound like it was like years ago, but it really wasn't, right? It feels like years ago.
It feels like it feels
right?
like I'm a completely different person. It feels like a decade ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's literally like what, like under 6 months. It's not, it's just about, right?
It's true. I never thought of it that way, but yeah, it's not been that long.
It hasn't. And it's really awesome because you just very organically was like, it felt to me like you were like back in the day, you know?
Yeah.
I think it was like 6 months ago, which is so cool because the mind, when the mind is like kind of closed shut, and like Tara said, like she was like that anchor, that root cause of whatever the problem, you know, was for her, was always drawing her back to that same feeling about herself. So whether she was thin, whether she was heavy, whether she was dieting, whether she wasn't, whatever, somehow or another, it always kept going back in. Why does it feel different now, do you think? Why do you think that it's like feels different to you now?
I think because I empowered myself. I think because now I realize that I'm the one that can change these things. And I'm really living a lot more in the present. I mean, not with everything. I mean, there's still moments, as we know. But yeah, I think that I'm not sure.
No, that was an amazing answer. And now you also have the tools when you feel like you are bopping out of the present, you know, trust me, there's like, we all live a regular life. You're a normal girl, I'm a normal girl. Like, we have things going on, we have anxiety, stresses, things. I know I shared with you ladies that, I had some sleeping issues recently that now I feel like I've figured out and worked through. And so we're always growing and building. Like, the journey of self-discovery never actually ends. It's just that when you don't know before, like the 6 months or before, that there was even an option for it, now you recognize that it's A, sky's the limit, and B, it's going to continue to be a practice, right?
Yeah. And I think too, going along with, like, I didn't realize that I was the one that could make all the changes, but I think also I spent my whole life just trying to make everybody else happy too. And I've really started and worked really hard at changing that and realizing, like, we do only live once and we are here to connect with the world. And if I spend all my time just worrying and trying to be somebody that I'm not for everybody else, my whole life would pass me by and I'll miss all these wonderful moments. And I do appreciate a lot of little things. And I'm learning that a lot more about myself. Like, very small things in the moment make me very happy.
Yeah.
And I was
go ahead.
Oh, and I was too busy worrying to even notice all of the beautiful things here around me before. Yeah.
And in addition to that, though, and I hope it's okay that I share that even the relationships that you have, even with parents and with spouses and with children, whatever, I don't know, everybody, that you're, even just the relationships are better as a whole, because you can see things through a wider lens now. So it's not that feeling like it's like us, like you against them in some ways, because there's no more isolation. Now you can actually see outside of yourself through such a broader spectrum that it's helpful to all of your relationships.
That's very true. Very true. And I didn't realize, like, I was blaming and judging, although I never thought that of myself. Like, I had no idea. And so I guess I always thought everything was everybody else's fault, right? Like, and then I started to take a step back, do our silent space that we talk about, and just evaluating. And I realized that I was such an active participant in how everything plays out. So that made a big change too. Yeah.
Sure. Other people have seen me talk about I've been married twice, and this was before my, start of self-discovery. And I recognized, though, after I was divorced a second time, and now I was home by myself and thinking that, okay, because I was blaming so much on my partner. And once I was alone, I was like, wow, is this like me? Like, really? Okay. It's like, it was shocking, because I did live with those blinders on, because the whole goal was to keep myself in that subconscious pain, rooted to this problem that I had that I didn't even know what it was yet.
Yeah.
So it always seemed like it was just the easiest solution to just say it was everybody else's fault and I was fine, until I was alone. And then I realized, oh, okay. But I still didn't know what to do with it yet. Self-discovery is one of those things that it's an opportunity to learn new things. You definitely need to be guided through it, because it's too easy to avoid it. It's too easy to put the blame and to judge, but not realize that it's you. And it's, it is valuable to be coached. How do you feel about coaching? Like, what do you feel like you've gotten out of that versus just like reading a book, let's say,
I wouldn't have come to any of the conclusions that I came to. Like I'd mentioned to you, I've gone to cognitive behavioral therapy before, and there's not anything wrong with it. And it was good for me at the time, for sure. But it didn't teach you how to connect with the world and connect with other people. It would take a problem and then you shove that problem away. So that root problem that we're talking about still stayed there. And so with coaching, it helped me kind of open it up really slowly and then realize how much there is to actually learn, but without some prompts and cues and things to kind of think about and good questions to ask, you wouldn't know what you're even looking for. Does that make sense?
Complete sense. And yet at the same time, with the type of coaching, even though we do coach in a group, would you say that you still got very individual attention? Because the whole goal for what I want to provide is a group support so that everybody can be in it together, and yet at the same time be creating an individual blueprint for you. So do you feel like you got that, what do you feel like individually that you got out of it,
Oh yeah, individually for sure, because we all get to share on the calls. And then I was very active in the Facebook group as well. So like I would get responses from you, I'd get responses from Kelly as well. I don't know her role. I forget what she is. She's a support coach too, right? Yeah. But also from the women too. Like as much as it's individualized, we all share so many of the same experiences and feelings that even though the conversations and questions weren't necessarily with me and about me, they related to me so closely that it might as well have been an individual conversation with me, because we're just all so alike.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of this whole process. And that's why, to me, it's really important that I connect on that clarity call with people, because, everybody's at a different part of their journey. And there are some women who we've gotten on the clarity call and we've decided together that this isn't the time of their life for self-discovery, and that we'll touch base again in a month or two from now. It's not like, like every single person gets like dumped into the same exact thing. And it's also not like every single person does the process the same way. Actually, it's quite the opposite. Every single person is really on their own journey. Some women are diving into what we call the learning hub, which is like a step-by-step process. And they're just like honed in on that and maybe don't necessarily come to the coaching calls as much at all. Other women like come to every single call and want, to really talk about it. Like, we're all unique individuals. So to me, it's the most important thing to be able to give individual support in a group setting. So
yeah.
Do you know, what were you going to, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I forget. I forget. Go ahead.
I know. I shut it down.
I do know what I was going to say. Yeah, I did things completely different with, I went through the hub really fast because I just really wanted to know what everything was about. And I went to all the coaching calls, and then I go back to the hub. So I kind of go back and forth, but I find it really helpful having the women share their real life experiences. That's what helped me learn the most. And the hub is fantastic too, but I needed to learn more and then go back into the hub because it made more sense to me that way.
Exactly. Yeah. Because it applies it to real life happenings, because the people in the group, when they're on the coaching calls, they're coming in and saying like, hey, this happened with my husband. Hey, this happened at work today. Hey, this happened. And what we don't do is we don't sit there and like gab and pity party about it, like at all. What do we do, Tara? Do you want to explain?
We support each other, and just you guide us to use the tools that we've learned. Really, we share, we support each other. We learn to be really kind to ourselves. I think that's one of the biggest things, is to be kind and patient to ourselves. And then we work through it together. And if it's really necessary, we get our one-on-ones with you. So that's fantastic as well, because sometimes life does have some pretty big things going on, right? That maybe you don't want to share with the entire group. But yeah, and then like, I mean, it's getting into a bit of the technical stuff, but the problem versus pseudo problem. I mean, if it's a real problem, then you help us come up with solutions, right? Or help us come up with our own solutions. And I think that's what's really important too. You don't feed us answers. We learn and we do what's best for us, because that's what's keeping us within our own integrity. And what might be the right answer for somebody else wouldn't be the same answer for me. So I think that's what's really different about this. It's not one size fits all answers. Yeah.
Exactly. And that really is, the difference sometimes that I feel about coaching versus, and trust me when I say I've been in therapy, a million times myself, extremely valuable. But I find that for coaching, it's really a matter of just guiding you to find the intuitive answers that are already inside of you, and then being able to kind of wade through your own, I'll use the word bullshit story, because sometimes, we'll have somebody come into coaching and, they're like almost convinced that this is the only way to look at it. And so what we'll do with coaching is, and I'm sure you've come to some of those places where like you've been coached and then we get off and you're like, oh, I wanna, but then the next day you're like, okay, I needed a breath for a minute. Like, I know, right? You've had some of those feelings. So coaching is a really intense way to be able to look at your truth and to really get out of your own way,
And it brings up a lot of emotions too. And something else that I learned, because I was a very firm believer in the past had nothing to do with now. And it's not that we want to focus on the past, but I didn't realize that there were parts of me that I need to heal and forgive. And all of that made a big difference in my life too. And without this group and coaching, I would have spent my whole life not even realizing that I had to heal those things to move forward. So that's another big part of it.
Yeah. And it's funny. That's exactly what I was just talking, like I said before here, when I signed someone else up, then, she kind of asked like, what do I do with this? This is like, how do we start? And I said, well, it's definitely going to be a part of forgiveness that's going to be taking place as we explore this journey. But the thing is that nothing's forced, it always comes at your own pace, at your own time, like when you're ready for it. And as a coach, intuitively, that because we're both real people, and that's the cool part about this, is that even though we're miles apart and even though we're online, and that's fine, but at the same time, like there is a connection. We have a deeper sense of our humanness, and that's really important. It's not just here's a workbook, fill out a worksheet. That's not what it is. And so,
and you wouldn't even be able to, because everybody's experiences are so different, and the feelings that come up are so different, and they come up at such strange times and places. I remember one time just doing dishes, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, that's why I've been feeling this way, right? And it just popped out. I'm like, oh, there's a light bulb.
Yeah. And those light bulb moments are amazing, and yet they can't happen if your mind is closed for them to happen. So if you're intent on just staying this one certain way, a closed mind cannot accept any new ideas. So, and that's why even with the Learning Hub, we have it divided into 3 separate sections. And actually we're giving the Learning Hub a makeover. And so these 3 sections are pretty amazing, because we start with the mindset reset, and then we go into self-discoveries, and then we change our habits. What we typically do is we try and change our habits first, like, I'm not going to eat this, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to cut my food and eat it slowly and whatever. And, yes, there's exploration of that sort of thing, but it's not the first thing, because if your mind is still anchored into that root, you'll never realize like why you're doing it, which is why you've been on 100 diets and they really haven't worked. So what do you think that makes this method so different? I know I just explained a little bit, but the client's version from like your version of it.
I think because it's not about food. Honestly, I think that's the biggest thing, that you're filling up all those parts of you that you didn't even know you were lacking in. Right? Like you're doing self-care, you're taking care of yourself emotionally, like your mind, your body, your spirit or soul. it's just such a holistic approach to everything. And the food kind of just falls into place because you're loving yourself and you're wanting to nurture yourself and give yourself what you need. And it just starts to feel really good. And then you just keep doing it because it feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And as we close off here, is there any advice that you would give to a woman who is looking to begin this journey? Like, what would you want to share with them?
Probably just to be kind to yourself and be patient with yourself and just to take the leap of faith. Like, I think this is probably up there with the top 3 best decisions I've made in my life. And who would have known 6 months ago that that is the case? And I mean, this is just going to change my life so much. And like you said, it's a journey. So it's not ever going to end. It's so valuable to have opened my mind. And I just hope, like, I'm getting a little teary. I just hope for everybody who started where I was, that they can give themselves this gift because it will change their life.
Yeah. And I know that for some people, even you, when you started, that thought is probably a little bit scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I like what you said about a leap of faith, because we talk sometimes in Crash That Food Thing, the coaching, where it's like if you're holding onto a swinging trapeze and you've got like one hand on the fear bar, but the love bar is out there, you might start to reach for it. But if you're holding on to both, it's like you, at some point you will have to let go so you can move forward. And that is scary. And we know that. And that's why we're where I feel like we really are superior in some way, is that we have such an amount of love and care and support. And we have, you know, Kelly, who's our support coach. She checks in once a week, and like, we don't let you, you know, we don't let you out on your own without your training wheels before like you're ready. You know what I mean? So it's a really good thing. So, all right. Do you have anything else you want to add? And then we'll head out. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I really do. It's awesome.
Just to thank you for giving me this opportunity. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. All right. So we will part now, and thank you everybody for watching, and thank you so much, Tara, for doing this with us. Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You.